Unchurned is presented by UpdateAI.
So what we find, it's like a game of ping pong going backwards and forwards to the customer, which is frustrating for the customer and frustrating for our CS renewals colleagues. So we auto-quote all possible permutations, use automation to notify, follow up, and really remind the customer without pissing them off in a way that's not intrusive, but it's front of mind. And then we drive them into what I kind of refer to as the Calendly of renewals, which is an interactive quote that I can see, interact with under the vendor's rules, but I can also share that with other decision makers in my organization and they can edit it as well. And we see that provides real-time feedback, so people in CS or renewals can see, okay, Matt did receive the renewal, he's interacting with it, he's looking at changing quantity or buying this next particular product, and it saves all the pointless phone calls, emails, follow-ups, and reminders.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Unchurned, the CS and BS version of it. I'm Josh Achter, founder and CEO of UpdateAI. I have with me here John. Start with
John Johnson, Principal Customer Success Manager at User Testing, calling in from Raleigh, North Carolina. And Christy.
Oh, we're doing a calling in now? Is that what we're doing? Are we doing first time, long time? Is that what we're doing?
First time caller, long time speaker.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Christy Falteruso, Chief Customer Officer at Client Success. Been in customer success for the past 12 years, building, scaling, and transforming customer success teams. Thrilled to be here today.
And you guys know this, but I'm not so kind. I kind of just press the record button because it's fun for me.
It's
and
become
we just
a thing.
Live. It's become a thing. But we haven't even really made introduction ourselves to our guest today, which is Mathew Cagney. And Mathew, thank you so much for being on the show. I would like to take this time to introduce you to Christy Falteruso and John Johnson. And Mathew, why don't you introduce yourself, though, to the world, to, again, all 5 listeners, and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
Hey, Mathew Cagney, first-time listener. So great to be part of this this podcast. That's Mathew with 1 T as well. So let's not get that. My parents had a thing for 2 T's. They didn't like 2 T's. So,
it's unneeded.
Yeah, I think it's redundant, right? Redundant.
Yeah.
Less is more.
Less is more.
I agree.
So I'm the CEO. I'm the CEO of a company called Renewtrak. I've got a very refined Australian accent. You might be picking that up right now.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah. More recently moved to sunny San Diego, where I think it's actually summer all year round. So that's where I'm calling in from. And I run a company called Renewtrak, and our aim is to democratize and digitize the entire renewals process to free up time for our wonderful colleagues in customer success, renewals, sales, to have more informed conversations with their customers and really get down to the nitty-gritty about how do we actually attribute our product to the value that it's driving for you and your organization.
Democratize and digitize renewals.
Yes.
I love lofty startup visionary language.
Yeah, we got some buzzwords too.
I want a demo.
Yes, I
was just
buzzwords.
interested.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, hold on. Yes, I want to democratize my renewal process, and I want to do all of these percentage things that you tell me in your profile. I want to liberate my customer success teams by 30 and 40%.
We're just gonna do a demo.
Yeah.
No, I'm here for the liberation.
One of my favorite parts of this podcast, and we flipped it on its head. We usually wait like 10 minutes with the guests just sitting on the call with us before we even
I did notice
them.
that. I listened to a couple before.
Yeah, and we just like, there's somebody else here.
Showed
so
up.
You still
to be clear, those are the episodes, John, that I'm not a part of because because then you're the MC and they're unstructured. But when I'm here, it's like straight to the business. No,
actually, John has been crushing it, Josh.
He is. Well, he always crushes it.
Yeah. So, Mathew, I feel like you refined that pitch. It feels like you've been doing this for a while. Walk me through, where did this movement come from for you? Like, why did you focus on the renewal side of it? And I want to be very clear here. Also, renewals is a big topic, right? So there's so much to. Are we talking about B2B, B2C, SaaS subscription memberships? Like, walk us through a little bit of the niches of where you're at, and then what kind of drove you to the space that you're in right now.
Yeah, first of all, we'll go back to the use of the term democratize and digitize. My wife keeps on saying, why do I keep on using that term? For some reason, I think it's sort of relatively well known, but that really means that we want to put the power in the hands of the end customer. Now, how did I get into this?
I like that better.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, maybe I'll use that in my pitch moving forward. Thanks, Josh. How did I get into this? Look, to be honest, I was a customer of many, many different vendors, and the renewals process sucks, to be honest. And what that means is a number of companies leverage time or don't leverage time to just hope that I will renew. And so what that meant is I would go unnotified about an upcoming renewal. I would go unquoted, unpriced, which meant it was really hard to budget for my expansion in my business. And a lot of the time when it goes bad, actually the vendor would shut down my software and I'd get woken up at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning and our platform's down. It can't support our largest customers. And then we've got to get our devs out of bed. They've got to do some fault finding and it comes out actually a license key's expired. So bad management on our side, but also bad management on the vendor side, not noticing it, notifying us. So that's how I got into it. I just wanted to solve that problem because it just really left a bad taste in my mouth. And I thought there's got to be a better way of providing me with visibility and transparency about my estate that's coming up. And because I'm not a lot of time when you're going through a renewals process, we all know that you're dealing with 2 to 3 other buyers, and we want to be able to put the information in their hands in a one-dimensional PDF that I can't edit, change, just doesn't give that to me or doesn't cut it. So we specialize in B2B renewals, so subscriptions, auto renewals, support contracts, even hardware assets, and we do that for a range of companies like VMware, Lenovo, HP, Cisco, but then also a large number of small SaaS companies, anywhere from about 300 accounts or more. And traditionally, we find our sweet spot in what we define as the long tail. So renewals buckets, high volume, low value. Low value could be defined as anything under 100K. Some companies call that under 250K, but generally the sweet spot's $1,000 to $100,000.
How does the product work, Mathew?
Yeah, good question. What we do is we help to look at what is the existing technology, how does the existing tech vendor quote that opportunity? How do they get it? How do they notify their customers? And how do they provide their customers with that feedback loop? What we find is a lot of that problem's thrown across to the CS teams or the renewals teams to manually create that quote in the CRM or CPQ. And that's a time-consuming process. It can be anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes on average for a quote. But then, when we pass that quote to the customer, I go, hey, Christy, actually, what about if I take fries with that? Or if my base is growing, give me another 25 licenses. Actually, you know what? And you come back and Christy requotes me again. And then I say, thank you for that, Christy. But what happens if I sign up for a 24-month contract? So what we find, it's like a game of ping pong going backwards and forwards to the customer, which is frustrating for the customer and frustrating for our CS renewals colleagues. So we auto-quote all possible permutations, use automation to notify, follow up, and really remind the customer without pissing them off in a way that's not intrusive, but it's front of mind. And then we drive them into what I kind of refer to as the Calendly of renewals, which is an interactive quote that I can see, interact with under the vendor's rules, but I can also share that with other decision makers in my organization and they can edit it as well. And we see that provides real-time feedback, so people in CS or renewals can see, okay, Matt did receive the renewal, he's interacting with it, he's looking at changing quantity or buying this next particular product, and it saves all the pointless phone calls, emails, follow-ups, and reminders.
One thing that I love as somebody who is a part of like a good portion of renewals at my org, what you just talked about is a huge pain point. And I love this because it's something that we're actively like talking. Not that I'm going to come buy your product. However, I should probably introduce you to our our team.
You got to lead, Mathew. You got to lead.
We're a consumption-based model, right? So what you just talked about happens all the time where it's like you bought 10,000, we're coming up on renewal, we're going to, zhuzh it up by 20%. And they're going to say, actually, I need another whatever. And we go back to CPQ and we have to get it requoted. And then they've got to do the numbers. And then it turns into 6 weeks. And we wonder why renewals are dragging, right?
What's CPQ,
but
John?
That's it stands for something quote.
Okay,
like
get in the way of
contract
my renewal.
product quoting.
Yeah,
getting away.
It's in Salesforce.
It's a
in
Salesforce tool.
Oh, okay.
It's
I'm
what
not
you
a
generate.
Salesforce guy.
Configure. There we go. Ask the CEO of the company. Right here we go.
Configure price quote. I never knew what it stood for either. So that's it. We can wrap up the conversation now. I feel like I got what I needed.
I'm going to add that to my internal wiki. No, but I think that's actually a really great thing, and that makes sense. How you're quoting, time savings on CS. What's the most interesting thing that you're seeing in in trends right now? This market is fucking weird, right?
It is.
It's brutal,
and I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. You probably feel that more so than anybody, right? You're leading into this kind of product-led growth, and you're also kind of powering a lot of product-led growth. I know that you've got the renewals-led growth hashtag.
Exactly.
Trending.
Thank you, John, for pointing that
because everybody, thanks to didn't Catalyst really screw everything up and turned everything into something-led growth?
Yes.
We all have it now.
They weren't the only
right?
ones. I feel like a lot of people jumped on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, John, we can throw away that Catalyst sponsorship of this podcast.
Catalyst-led growth. It's not a bad thing. But yeah, walk me through what's interesting right now in kind of the view that you're seeing from the top.
I think there's a couple of core drivers. One is more and more tech companies are realizing, as you know, that the customers are their biggest asset, and that they have to grow them, retain them, and continue to grow them again and again. So I think that's obviously one of the really big trends we've seen over the last couple of years, where funding's gone into CS. Now funding's going into renewals and renewals automation, because these companies have got to scale and do more with the same people or less. So they're looking to automation to help with that particular conversation and journey. The other part that I find really interesting at the moment is, over the last sort of 3 years, we've found many vendors didn't want to allow customers to downgrade. But now I'm starting to see some early trends now in actually allowing us to configure that in the digital interface to say, actually, you know what, if machine learning's identified that I'm a potential churn risk, maybe we might want to proactively offer them a slightly smaller package, because it's better to keep that customer to lose them completely. And we're starting to see that as a bit of a leading indicator in a lot of the conversations that I'm having with big tech companies at the moment. And I think that's probably the most fundamental change I've seen over the last sort of 3 years, which they were all hard and fast. If you want to reduce your quantity, there's a horrible path to go through. You've got to pick up the phone, you've got to call the 1-800 number, you've got to wait on there for 45 minutes to get to someone's voicemail, and then you'll never get to, And so I'm seeing them becoming a lot more proactive in that area, which I think is a really interesting sign of the economic times, and the fact that they're starting to realize that one size interaction doesn't fit all, and that, a lot of us are quite digital savvy, and we want to control our own destiny, and just give us a self-service interface and let us have a crack at it.
One thing you touched on, the flexibility, right, of contract sizes. I think that's really intelligent. And from your standpoint, though, as a CEO, how does that feel? We used to have to quantify revenue, right? Where our job is to protect revenue, right? And if up until this point, anything lower than what we renewed at is still risk, right? We're seeing this in our industry too. How do you justify that in the markets when you're VC backed, or when you're fundraising, and you have this, you're actually advertising the ease, the flexibility, right, of downgrades or less revenue just to save kind of that customer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Look, I don't think they're actively advertising. A lot of it, we haven't seen that shift yet, but there more and more of those companies are talking about providing that flexibility. And the reason is because if that customer has to pick up the phone and talk to the CS team about, hey, what happens if I take 15 widgets instead of 25? That's a time-consuming process. Our customers probably they're going to churn anyway, so let's retain them, but also let's use automation to free that workload up, because normally that workload comes at the back end of a quarter. If we can free that up, let the machine do that, we can apply our scarce CS and renewals resources to proactive conversations about, hey, how do I really grow this other cohort of customers? So it's really just about, where do we allocate our scarce human resources more than anything, in my opinion, and how do we use automation to free those scarce resources up?
Matthew, are you guys forecasting likelihood of churn in order to then power the experience with the customer, whether whether it's an
Mm.
upgrade or downgrade, or are you plugging in from existing systems like you mentioned, Salesforce?
Yeah, we have our own propensity to churn models. We've developed them over the last 3 years. And so we apply a churn indicator at ingestion. And so we're seeing a lot of companies provide us the data 180 days out from expiry because they want to have that informed conversation with the customer, start notifying them, talk to them about the next best product. And we apply a churn rating at that 180 days. And we proved that was over 90% accurate in about 2 quarters ago for one of the largest software companies in the world. So it's hugely predictive.
Which is
VMware. Well, one of the larger ones, yeah. And yeah, so we proved that score, applying that on 180 days, was well over 90% accurate. And so you just imagine how that allows you to better allocate your human resources, which opportunities to go after, et cetera, et cetera.
What are some of those factors that you put into that propensity modeling?
Look, it's kind of, our CTO is just a real purist in relation to machine learning and AI. The machine tells us. So we throw all this data at it. We've built these models over the course of the last 3 years, and it tells us the combination of all of those and what's predictive and not, and to what level of predictability as well. And so that could be anything from, customer type, region, products, channel, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you know any trends around like the timing of when a customer is going to renew or churn? Have you seen any trends around, if the renewal is coming up within X days or X weeks and you still haven't renewed yet, there's a increased likelihood of churn, anything like that?
I think if we flip it on its head, one of the really cool things we've noticed is there's just a pent up demand for proactive notification and self-service. And what that means is one of our customers, I can't name them, but we notify their customers about 90 to 120 days. We're seeing a very, very large cohort of their customers starting to renew 89 days early. And so what that meant was their average on-time renewal rate went from 15 days prior to expiry to 45 days prior to expiry. So you just imagine that, one, there's this pent-up demand to say, hey, I've got so many things on my plate. If I know that the vendor and I know them and I trust their pricing, let me digitally renew, self-serve, and get it off my plate so I can focus on the big things that I need to focus on. And so we're seeing a growing trend in that area. So I think that's a really important one. And for CS and Renewals team, what that does is it reduces all that back-end work to the end of the quarter, especially if you're moving your on-time renewal rate by that much.
Let me ask a question. So is your model designed off of what you guys have historically been watching and the data that you've been collecting, or is it unique for every single customer that you're working with as they're putting their data inputs into the system?
Yeah, it's a combination of both. We've developed the models, but you have to train them, and it probably takes about 3 to 6 months worth of data to train those models so they're accurate and predictable to that company. And we can get that in an offline way prior to going live, and the model's turned on, ready to go.
Interesting. And then do you guys integrate with other systems? Because I have to imagine that from a renewal standpoint, right, there's a lot of places where this has to get managed and where it might live today. So if someone's considering your software, how do they make it feel integrated into their current work stream?
Yeah, so we integrate into the various CRMs. I think the biggest thing, though, to take away from that is the CRMs and CPQ engines are not built for the renewals workflow. There's no consolidated view of the opportunity, who's interacting it, what the next steps is, and what the propensity to renew is. You can build a dashboard in Salesforce, but it doesn't give you all that interactivity, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of a combination of use your existing CRM, maybe your CS platform, but also you need a dashboard that normally comes in hours that you can dive into, see where something is. You might take the next step in that CS tool or the CRM, but this might just become their daily workbench in which they prioritize their workload until some of those CRM and CS tools catch up from a dashboard and interactivity perspective.
Interesting. Cool.
Matthew, looking at your background, you spent years at the executive level in management across a number of technology companies, and you kind of went over the origin story a little bit of and the problem you're solving with Renewtrak. What made this problem personal to you as part of your origin story? You could have started a million different types of startups. Why and how? What's the specific origin story personal to you about starting Renewtrak?
Yeah, so when I was at a company called Afterpay, which helped to find or found the buy now, pay later model, and that's really when you break a purchase up into 4 equal payments and spread that over, 4 fortnights. Now, one of the things I was responsible there was running a number of their technology platforms and business units. And I used to get woken up because our biggest customer in the globe couldn't transact. And that was because our system had been shut down by one of the vendors that provided it was a security package that run one of our services. And that just left a really bad taste in my mouth. And because I was trying to manage budgets there and technology spend, and I'll give you an example, I would get a renewals notice from my technology vendor. First thing I would say is, okay, I think we still want them, but why don't I ask my manager that still runs that side of the business? Because I don't actually know that well. And then I'd have to chase that person up. I'd have to chase Claire up pretty much daily to come back to me. Hey, Claire, come back to me. Do you still want this tool? Do you still want this tool? Then I'd get her information back maybe 2 weeks later. Then I'd go, okay, now I just need to double check with our tech team. Are they still okay with this technical platform? Or is there anything else they would like? And I'll have to do exactly the same thing and follow them up at the same time. And because it's just a one-dimensional PDF, I'd have to forward it to them, get notes back, and it was an archaic nightmare. So what I wanted to do was invest in a business that broke that down and essentially allowed me to share a secure tokenized link with everybody involved in that buying process that could interact with that renewal exactly the same time, read the T's and C's, accept them, add a purchase order. Because then once I got Claire's approval and Jasmeet's approval, then I had to go to finance and say, okay, finance, can you please approve this and give me a PO number? And it's like, I'm trying to run a business. I can't be going through this process all the time for, a number of different tech vendors. So what we've tried to do is create an interactive, a tokenized link that I can share with other buyers in the organization. They can interact with it at real time, and we can all close that at once. Now, how that manifests itself, if you're not engaged, if you're a vendor and you're not engaging if you're just engaging the CTO or the technical buyer, they might not be aware of what other things you should be doing as an organization. And so if you're communicating with me, my technical manager and my CPO all on the one interface and showing me the appropriate upsell or transition journeys to a strategic platform, then I can help influence that as a customer and say, I might self-select and go, I'm going to upgrade from this product to this product because that's going to suit where we're going as an organization. If you're just dealing with that one buyer, it's hard and you miss things. And that's why obviously we've got that highly personalized approach for accounts that are over $100,000 where we can do that, where we can put people on that. We just try to break that down with technology and allow you to do that for $1,000 account and $100,000.
Yeah, I want to just shift just a little bit on topics, but about the way that you kind of think about customer success. Obviously, like we talk a lot about customer success. I think renewals are obviously a huge part of this. There's a lot of of the Venn diagram of what we do. It's a pretty big center spot, right? Walk me through what customer success looks like at your organization. Obviously, you're using this tool for your customers. What does your CSM and RM process look like? Do you have a CCO? Are you director? What does your reporting structure look like for customer success?
Yeah, we've got a CCO, and he's obviously on our executive team. So we treat customer success really, really important here at Renewtrak. His name's Paul Dunn. And one of the things I thought was unique, and I was Googling it before here, but we also make sure that our customer success reps are involved in every single sales process to make sure that when we're signing up to a program, that they are comfortable that they can deliver the outcome that the salesperson is signing up to. And I thought that was one of the unique things about us until I Googled it on the interweb before we joined this podcast. But so we treat customer success very, very importantly, and we involve them very early up in that pre-sales process to make sure that they
can I ask
deliver.
What stage you do? Yeah. I'm going to interrupt you. What stage do you involve CS in? We talked about this on every podcast.
Yeah.
But it's unique to you.
But it's unique, yeah.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. So
but you're a special snowflake, and everything you do is wonderful.
Yeah. So we involve them at just before proposal stage, helping to create the proposal all the way through to contracting. So when an opportunity gets to about 50, 60% probability.
That's awesome.
On every deal you said you do this? Oh, I'm sorry,
Deal,
John, now I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Regardless of deal size, there's no threshold, or do you are your average deal sizes large enough to warrant that motion?
What's your average deal size?
Look,
I don't want to ask that. We're recording.
No,
I'm turning into Nathan Lotka here. We're going after the hard, tough.
Okay,
tough
so let's go.
questions.
Let's go. Average deal size.
Some of them are down to as low as 10K a year, so they're quite small.
Don't give that face, Christy.
What?
I'm joking.
I wasn't commenting on the deal size. I think that might be low depending on the volume of deals that you have coming in at that deal size, right? So I do see that there are a lot of folks that definitely advocate for that. I would myself. I don't have the team size to justify including them in every single deal below a certain threshold. Quite frankly, I like to be more involved in the deal process anyway than my CSMs, because I want to hear firsthand what's going on, make sure that I feel like we can deliver on it. But no, that's what I was asking. So
there's a tool for that. I mean, I think Mathew.
Interesting. Wow.
I think Mathew is a startup founder, and he's rolling up the sleeves and saying we are positioning customers first because we are in the business of customer experience and renewals and customer success, and so we're gonna drink our own champagne as the other Christy in my life recently reminded me it's better than eat our own dog food.
I'm going to interrupt Josh.
Yeah, no one wants to eat the dog food. You always drink the champagne.
I'm going to interrupt Josh from complimenting our guest too much. But one thing that I do love about this, though, what does your feedback loop look like, right? So you've got specifically about when to bring folks in, right? Do you have a conversation with sales and CS at that 50 to 60% for deals that go to closed won and that go to closed lost? Are you identifying some of those trends and maybe adjusting what that deployment looks like from a standpoint of headcount or resource management?
God, that's a broad question. So
yes, move on.
So cut along, so we kind of have a sales and CS interlock once a week where we kind of review the pipeline. We're going through each one that's moving forward, who's going to get involved in the next call, the next proposal, and then who's actually churned from the pipeline this month, and what are we going to take away and learn from that from a vernacular perspective, and what motivated that client to not proceed, and how do we make sure that's baked into everything we do. And I guess the other reason we want CS involved, especially in the small opportunities now, is we're still a small company, is every customer means the world to us, and we want to be able to tell their story to help us, acquire new customers. So we just want to wrap our arms around everybody at the moment while we can, until we've created, I guess, replicatable stories across all these different verticals. Every software vendor seems to operate differently, have a different cohort of customers and so forth. So that's kind of the stage we're at the moment.
I love that.
Mathew, from a startup entrepreneur perspective, we all know that founding a startup is a roller coaster, to say the very least. There's highs and there's lows, and then there's loop-de-loops.
Really lows.
Yeah. How long have you guys been around?
We've been around 6 years. I took them over 4 years ago.
6 years. So 4 years. What's been like a very memorable narrative style high that you can share? And what's been one of the biggest lows? And if you want to reframe that, you could say like maybe something you didn't expect, or learning opportunity, we can call it. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest highs was, when I came into the business, I looked at where we're spending all of our time, and especially from an engineering perspective, because resources are scarce, we were spending 95% of our time putting out bugs and dealing with support issues. And that meant we could only apply 5% to R&D, and you can't grow a business that way. I can't listen to my customers and create a compelling roadmap for them for the next couple of years. So we had to address that and free that up. So one of the things I'm really proud of is we managed to turn that around, and that, you've got to do that by working with your customers to figure out what's the noisiest problem I need to solve first. So eventually, over the course of the next 6 months, I can turn our engineering team around to be focusing on more feature requests and pure R&D, and get ahead of those feature requests, actually, because ideally you want to be ahead of your customers and thinking about that, how do I set my product up in a productized way that will cater for all those requirements rather than just waiting for feature requests to come in. And so I think that's probably one of the proudest moments.
For you as the leader, one of the proudest ones is getting the trains running on time, getting the proper rhythm and cadence of your product development effectively, and being able to take input from your users and be predictive of what your customers want. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, and even getting predictive of what they want and starting to lead the conversation.
How are you doing that? Do you have a systematic way that you launched into that?
I use a framework called, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of pragmatic marketing. It's essentially it's a framework designed for product management, and it allows you to, there's a whole lot of feature prioritization stuff in there, which allows you to actually reduce the noise and start to quantifiably define the value of that feature to your organization based on retiring technical debt, churn of winning new business and so forth. So that's the framework I use, and I'd recommend anybody who hasn't heard about it to check it out. It's awesome. It takes into consideration technical debt, strategic fit, time to get that feature in the market, time for it to add value, and maybe monetary return for winning new customers.
Cool. And what about the lows?
The lows, probably it's just a relentless grind. Like sales is hard. Like it's just up and down like a goddamn roller coaster. And the highs are absolutely amazing. Like everybody, I don't know, I get really motivated when we're selling and our customers are loving us, telling the case studies, et cetera, et cetera. But then when you're losing deals, it's like you're at this bottom of the trough and you think, shit, what have I done? What am I doing it right? So the first couple of years we had to really get into our rhythm. Now it seems to be high after high, but for the first couple of years, it was really tough. Just that grind and continuing to pick yourself up after no after no after no.
That's interesting. You have any questions for us?
Well, I got more. Mathew, I got another one. So,
John?
No, I know, but I always like to see what people have to. I don't know. We're cool too.
So, a lot of the CS brands out there, Client Success, UpdateAI, all of them are very engaged in the community, throwing these conferences and doing these online webinars and podcasts and so on and so forth. I haven't seen Renewtrak out there. And that's not a judgment. That's just, I haven't come across you guys. Maybe A, why is that? And B, where are you focusing some of your go-to-market energy, your sales and marketing energy, if it's not in those forums that I at least am mostly aware of in CS?
Yeah, look, we've sort of mostly focused our advertising on, software vendors where we're trying to actually describe and give away sort of e-booklets on how to run your best renewals practice, how to manage your long tail, how to write your email notifications, those type of things. I guess what we're going through a process now, we're going to redesign our website. And you know what it's like. You've got to have your website and content right before you can spend your money in certain areas. So at the moment, we're focused on, let's do a ground-up website redesign, focused on content, search engine optimization first. Then the next phase is to continue to build content that we can ideally create some thought leadership around to start telling our story and why people should actually think about this to complement their CS and renewal strategy. That's where we're spending our time at the moment. Would love to be involved in some of these more thought leadership-based conversations on where the market's heading. Love what you guys are doing at UpdateAI, sharing that knowledge about how do you use AI and how do you just simplify the whole work practice and how do we get more efficient. We would love to be part of that program. We just haven't had the bandwidth up until now.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I gotta tell you, I get where you're coming from. Don't wait. Don't wait. Like, listen, I'm not a CEO, so why should you listen to me, right? Like, I've never founded a company. No. I'm sure you have a ton of competing resources, projects, whatever. Don't wait. What you guys are doing could be super disruptive to the world that we're all operating in. And if you have something to say, go say it. Like, I mean, everyone else is saying whatever's on their mind and it's not always useful. So like, if you've got something useful to say, go out there and share it, right? Go after the earned media. That's what I would advise you to do, because I think waiting for you to get your website and build thought leadership content, you're just going to be spinning your wheels. It'll never be the right time. I got to say, just like, get out there and be present. Get your salespeople out
This
there.
could
Get
be
people that
fun.
are running your renewals.
This could be a lot of fun, Chrissy. Let's all go around, you, me, and John, and let's help. Let's be really
Tell him what he
know,
needs to do.
presumptuous here, and let's come up with Matthew's 2024 go-to-market plan.
I think that's a whole.
I mean, I didn't say all that, Josh. I'm over here trying to like build my 2024 like.
No, I think this would be fun. I think this would be fun. What's your top? What are your top 3? And this is tactical. This isn't like go on a webinar. No. This is like Jan Young's office hours Thursday afternoons, right? Like I want like what's like the top 2? We'll each give 2. What are the top 2 tactical? Get your name out there in the CS community. Things that you would do. Christy, you start.
1, get on the client success webinar. Come talk about what you're doing and how you feel like you're changing renewal stuff. No, I'm not saying that from my standpoint. Like I'm giving him an easy,
Christy, I just vomited a little bit.
No, I'm giving him an easy place to go start. He doesn't need to like audition and come and like go through all these hoops. I'm telling you, I would love to host you to come talk about the work that your world is doing. Honestly, be present on LinkedIn. All of the people that are operating in our world, not all of them, right? There's a billion that aren't, but so many people that are out here, whether they're consultants or practitioners, be present for them so they can either use your product or recommend your product. So you yourself or get folks, you said you have a chief customer officer, get your chief customer officer engaged in these communities. Like I would say, get them present on LinkedIn, get them building their brand and their visibility, start talking about the great work you're doing. You also mentioned these customer stories and all these testimonials. Great. Showcase some of the work that your customers are doing with your product. I would love to hear about it because this is the first time I'm hearing about your product. And it sounds really interesting.
I agree. John?
So Josh, poo-poo on you. I was just inviting you to come and hang out with me so we could talk about you.
Oh my God. You guys are so mean to me.
Wait, Matthew, John is too sensitive. Josh is too mean.
Before we go on to John, Matthew, do you have any response to Christy?
No, I think you're right. Look, it's sometimes the Australian in us is just a little bit more conservative, and to be successful in America,
Australians are conservative. I'm going to call bullshit on that.
To a degree.
They're not.
I was going to say I know somebody that was not very conservative.
Whoa, well, we don't.
Really?
Anyway.
we just had another Aussie that.
Oh, did you?
You know, it was a great conversation. I don't know. I don't do this. What you guys are like 8 levels above me. I just talk about like the trenches over here. CCOs and CEOs. I'm just an IC. I don't have an opinion.
Just come up with 2 ideas, John.
Sell more, churn less.
No, John, you have it. Like you
he
are part of
said
so many things.
tactical stuff. Come on.
Tactical stuff. Come on, yeah.
Let's see.
Get featured in CS Insider. Come on, John. Like you're so enriched in our community and you do so many things. You participate in all these groups. Tell him where to go. He doesn't know where to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great opportunity. We do a bunch of, we have a newsletter called CS Insider that focuses on a lot of folks that are in the market for this kind of stuff. So we do a newsletter, we do events. I think I like what Christy says about getting in front of people. I also think, like right now, the CEO mindset is the marketing model. Every CEO is being told by their marketing person to go out and do podcasts and go out and share their opinions and kind of tell their stories, some of them to ill effect. I would just really urge you to be very, very authentic and not just put content out for content's sake. I think you have a really natural perspective. I really love your energy. Your hairline is perfect for the web.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
It's great.
Agreed.
You have a face for radio. No, but also like you're talking about this shit in a way that makes a lot of sense. And every single person in my organization needs to hear the way that you talk about frictionless renewals. And I think not just getting in front of CS, but also like really positioning yourself as the experience of the customer with the brand. Maybe not customer experience, like as the industry, but like how your customers interact with your brand is one of the most important retention strategies. And if we make it difficult for them to buy and renew or downgrade or change, then that is causing pain that CSMs don't usually own, right? That's a RM or an AM or somebody else.
What's the second tactical thing, John?
I don't have a second tactical thing.
That's not, no. You're
Get
not
on another podcast.
No, you're not wiggling on this. Okay. What other podcast?
I don't listen to CS podcasts. You're putting me on the spot here. I would say
go on Alex's, right? The digital CS. Because if you're talking
that's a
about
good
like
one.
kind of automating this renewal process
Ooh.
and digitizing that experience, that feels like a natural one for you to go sync up with
I
our
agree.
friend Alex.
I think
agree.
that's a great idea.
Alex is a good
Yeah.
guy.
Awesome.
Matthew, I first of all, you do have a hairline for what was it?
Television.
Radio.
No. I have a hairline for radio.
No, we want to show it off, Matthew.
Yeah, you have a hairline for television. You have an actual hairline. So let me tell you a story. There's this guy named Mickey Powell, who is the head of go-to-market at UpdateAI. He's not on our session today, but generally he's a co-host. And he has just this passion and curiosity for AI and now generative AI. And he dove straight into becoming a thought leader in ChatGPT 9 months ago when it was still a little bit, unknown. And he wrote, he and I had planned to write like a 10-page white paper on ChatGPT for customer success. He came back a few weeks later with a 70-page white paper. But it was really well done and really well thought out. And then what he started doing is he established himself through that white paper because it was real content. He went onto the whole circuit of podcasts and webinars, started talking about it, started getting people more interested, started plugging our company into those conversations, started offering follow-up one-on-ones with teams to educate them on how they could use ChatGPT for customer success. It was really light on referencing UpdateAI actually, but naturally it just started to create this groundswell of branding for us. And it sounds like you have like a niche there with what you're doing. There's all these onboarding softwares. There's, Rocket Lane and Guide CX and Baton, all these things. And they do all these like webinars and stuff around, and even, these ebooks and stuff around onboarding. But you can own renewal. And I think that's really cool. And so you already mentioned this is already on your plan, right? So I'm not giving you this idea. This is already yours. But I would, like Christy said, I would quickly get out there with some content. I would not only make it your content, I would make it content that you glean also from the community. So put some surveys out there, maybe even get some workshops or whatever.
Or if you have data, use the data.
Yeah, exactly. Your data. Yeah, of course.
Like you probably have so much cool data. Use it.
Yeah. I mean, Gong did that, right? Like back in the day with their talk ratios and stuff for salespeople. And I would create that content quickly. And then I would get on a circuit of all of these community forums and webinars and podcasts and all that kind of stuff and become the thought leader in renewals.
Love it. Well, I was having this conversation with our digital marketer probably about a month ago, and I drew this triangle and I said, right, at the moment we're focused on the base things, but we've also got to have this other thing at the top of the triangle, which is this kind of influencer partnership kind of thing about how do we get our name out there. So I think you guys have just jogged my memory and approach, and I'm going to double down on this over the next.
I hope we didn't get anyone fired.
No, not at all. No.
I mean, are you looking to hire somebody?
Christy, you want a fourth job, Christy?
Yeah.
I have nothing to do Saturday between 8 p.m. and 12. So.
Yeah.
Well, this is great.
Well, Matthew, do you have any questions for us?
I think you've just answered anything that I could have asked for. Look, I think just your advice and guidership, and just it's like a short circuit, right? It's hard to, you get stuck on this sort of merry-go-round where you focus on the next thing. It's nice to just have that short circuit message across the bow. Hey, to continue to get your story out there, this is what you need to do. And Christy, to your point, you don't need to wait. I think, and all the advice is spot on, perfect, resonates with me, and I've just got to kick it up a gear.
Yeah, I think you're doing great. It sounds like you have a product that really drives value. Congratulations on that. I like the path you're on, and I thank you for. I hope we didn't come across too strongly here, which we often do. Oh, we always do, in volunteering our opinions. But wishing you the best. Everybody, go check out Renewtrak, which, by the way, like you help people track renewals, and so I love your name. I didn't quite get it at first, but now it's like, it's just like very literal, and that's exactly what it should be.
We need more of those.
Yeah. We need more of those.
There's nothing worse than an obscure product name, right? You go,
right. Or the ones that they spell it away, and then I have to say it phonetically 10 times to figure out how I actually say it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love it.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for listening to our episode. Thank you, Matthew.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matthew.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. Lovely to meet you.